so tell me about what happened. Give me the breakdown and how you dealt with it and everything like that.
So I count myself very lucky in the sense that while I was part of the first wave of people to get hit here in California, I also am surrounded by, I have a strong support system, and I'm a social worker. So I'm used to dealing with bureaucracies and knowing how to advocate for myself and just advocate for my community. So I
Yeah.
started coming down with symptoms, and my symptoms, unfortunately, didn't match that of what they were originally saying. I didn't have like the three main symptoms when this whole thing started.
Right.
So of course, I'm a mental health clinician. So I thought, oh my gosh, I'm just experiencing major anxiety.
Hey, we're all thinking that some days for sure.
Yeah, we were all thinking all those things. But I did feel different. I felt like something was happening with my body. And as the days progressed, I was experiencing more and more symptoms. But again, nothing that really fit the perfect COVID patient.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and I was trying to find a place to test me, and I couldn't find anywhere to test me. But again, these were the beginning days, the first few days. So I just kept at it. I kept asking a lot of questions. I kept calling my healthcare provider. I was in contact with my employer, just trying to find answers to what was happening.
Yep.
And so after a week of searching, I finally just woke up one day and said, I'm going to get to the hospital, and one way or another, they're going to test me.
Right, you gotta look out for yourself.
You do,
For sure.
Because my fear also was that if I was positive, well, what am I doing to the rest of my community and my colleagues and my family? I had to think not just about myself, but also the bigger picture. And I think in all of this, that's the one thing that we have to remember, is that we're part of a community, and that we have to be out watching for ourselves and watching for others. And we're part of a web.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing with this is, and people are finally understanding. And like you said, obviously you came to that realization. Our own decision affects more than just ourselves from here.
Correct.
It's
Correct.
everybody else around you as well. So
correct.
So you got to the hospital.
So I got to the hospital, and it literally looked like something out of The Walking Dead.
Oh, goodness gracious.
But there was still nobody there. It was virtually empty. I mean, they were prepared for, I think for the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
But I was still patient one, literally.
That is crazy.
So when I got there, they were just kind of like, what are you doing here? Why are you here? I said, well, I'm here because I think I have symptoms.
Yeah.
And so they went ahead and they tested me, and they also x-rayed me right in the parking lot, which was pretty surreal. Yeah, it was surreal. So I tell ladies, hey, don't wear a bra with wires. If you got to go to the hospital, there's all these logistics that you have to think about. And thankfully, again, because I've been a medical social worker, I kind of came prepared for the unexpected. So I wore a sports bra that had no metal wire. I had layers so that I could easily take things off. And I'm telling all my friends now, if you have to get down to the hospital, just be prepared, dress appropriately. Don't bring a suitcase.
You're not staying in a hotel.
Your goal is not to stay there.
Yeah.
But just come prepared. And so anyways, they tested me, and right then and there, within an hour, they found out that I did have pneumonia.
Wow.
And they weren't able to tell me whether I had COVID or not. But they told me that they would be in contact with me probably within 24 hours. And at that time, they were Kaiser, that's my care provider, was right on top of it. And they were providing 24-hour testing, whereas other colleagues of mine and other friends who were coming down with symptoms, they had different care providers, and not to bash on them, but they just had a different process, and theirs was seeming to take a little longer. So I consider myself very fortunate. So the very next day they called me and they said, yep, you have COVID. This was on a Sunday. afternoon. I was actually on a Zoom call with Mary. So she got to see it live.
I'm gonna have to call Mary after this.
Yeah. Yeah. And she was just like, oh my gosh, and at the time we were telling each other the same things, you don't have pre-existing conditions. You're totally fine. It's just a flu. You're going to be fine. But it wasn't. It just progressed. And unfortunately for me, I was one of the fortunate ones who was part of the early wave. By Tuesday night, symptoms have gotten really bad. And it's so true what Chris Como is saying, that it's the beast comes out at night. I don't know why he comes out at night, but he comes with a vengeance at night.
Oh,
one of the things that I had purchased, because a friend of mine, when I first became ill, she was like, get a pulse oximeter. These things were God sent. It's just a little machine that you just put on your finger, and it measures your oxygen level.
Get out.
Yeah, because the fever on different people, it reacts different. For me, it never really went that high. I had a low grade fever the entire time, but this thing actually was able to say, like, you're not getting the oxygen that you need.
Wow.
So this is what clued me in to go to the hospital. This was the missing link. Mm-hmm.
That nail on the head to say, all right, get there.
Correct. Yeah. So on Wednesday morning, this was the scariest part of the whole thing. I literally had to have my husband drive me to the ER, and then a nurse comes to your car door, like you're getting valeted.
Jesus.
And they literally just tell you got to walk yourself in to the hospital. And I couldn't even hug or kiss, or all I could say was I love you to my husband, and walk myself in. And then from there, it just was like a movie. You get escorted into a room and you're in isolation. And, they gave me a walkie-talkie to talk to the nurses and doctors, because they didn't want to be freely coming in and out of the room unless they absolutely had to.
Holy cow.
Yeah. So it's pretty intense. And then from there, they made the decision that they were going to hospitalize me, and they hospitalized me for 7 days. I was in isolation for 7 days. But technology was amazing. It was a godsend. I cannot imagine going through this in the 80s or 90s.
Yeah, it would definitely be a whole other ball thing. Yeah, I mean, isolation for 7 days, you're definitely going to need to take advantage of technology. I mean, so how did you deal with that? How was that 7 days with anxiety? I mean, so you had the technology, you were speaking to friends, you were, video chatting and stuff like that.
I was FaceTiming whenever I could. The problem with this disease is that it does affect your lungs.
Yeah.
So you have a hard time breathing and talking. So I would get exhausted very easily. But texting was a godsend. Social media was a godsend. I was able to read a lot about my symptoms, read articles, and then cross-reference, make sure that what I was reading was actually real, because there was a lot of misinformation.
Oh man, people need to learn how to do that.
Yeah. But it was nice to have my phone. I had the world's biggest TV. And it felt like I was in a movie theater. It was a TV that was like, I don't know, 7 feet. I was in a brand new hospital. My experience was so different than so many others. I had a Kim Kardashian experience at my hospital. It was amazing. I had a little laptop that could interface with the TV. The doctor would talk to me via teleconferencing, which was great, because my doctor, they were so concerned about their own personal safety and health.
Absolutely.
So technology really made it so easy for me. I was able to show them like what was happening with all the machines that I was hooked up to.
Wow.
Without them having to come in and out of the room. So I had the best experience technology-wise. I had a great window. Mary actually visited me.
I saw the picture of her out on the top of her
they're
truck.
on a street corner, but I could see them they couldn't see me, but I could see them. And again, we were able to,
It was a scene from a movie. It was a scene from a
Yeah.
movie, that picture.
Yeah. My husband and my son, my dog was able to stand on that corner. I had relatives come stand on that corner. They made signs. I mean, and like I'm telling everybody, I mean, not to sound melodramatic, but I feel really lucky throughout this experience. I got to literally see in live TV and vivo what people thought of me. You know, I had an outpouring of support and love and kindness, and people in my community organized a meal train,
Oh, God,
so
that's
that my
beautiful.
husband didn't have to worry about anything because they were quarantined. They weren't allowed to go out. So people were bringing them food. And then my husband actually ended up coming down with it himself, but while I was
Wow.
still in the hospital. But his symptoms, thank God, were mild. And, you know, we had our 17-year-old son that was having to take care of my husband. And then when I came home, he had to take care of me.
Oh, man.
So
Well, good
it
on
was,
him. Good on him. He learned parenting really quickly then, I guess.
he did. He did. He did. It's, you know, it's amazing all the life skills that you teach your kids, and you wonder, like, are they really listening? Are
Are they
they
retaining everything I'm telling them? Because they're going to need it for future reference.
exactly? And
Yeah.
now they're, you know, he blew it out of the park. Just did an amazing job. Our community did an amazing job. My family, friends, everybody. Um, and really now I just find that life isn't about sweating the small stuff. Life is just about trying to find purpose and how to help our community. And, you know, for those of us that are lucky enough to still be employed, how can we now help out others? And
Yep.
I'm reaching out to friends that are, you know, in industries that are hard hit, you know, like friends that are gym instructors. And I'm trying to work with them and come up with creative ideas as to how they can now start marketing themselves through media. I'm coming up with like, I'm just always full of ideas. So all day long, I'm like texting friends and telling them like, hey, have you tried this? Have you tried that? Like even friends that I have a friend who's a personal chef. I'm like, you know, now's a good time to use media. Maybe you can teach people how to cook from home, and
Yeah.
how to even people with now, for example, now that I've had my health scare, I'm now really into health, and I'm trying to figure out like, well, what do I need to eat now to like strengthen my immunity? So I've been reaching out to like friends and colleagues and people, and I'm also a mental health professional, and I have friends that are mental health professionals, and they're obviously seeing an uptick in telehealth.
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
so I think that's a, you know, this is going to open up a lot of opportunities for a lot of people. It's just a matter of like how to quiet the white noise so that you can raise yourself above it,
Mm-hmm.
and find opportunities in this, and ways and how you can help your community.
I love that. And I think that's not obviously going through your experience, but you know, I've seen that as well. I'm here in Morristown in New Jersey. It's a very close knit town. It's surrounded by a couple colleges. It's downtown. It's, you know, your mid-30s, your
Right.
millennials, and you know, we're seeing a lot of that about, you know, the community helping out the small businesses that are either shut down. They've been doing, you know, fundraisers. My brother's a barber in town, so you
Yeah.
know, he was hit by this, you know, pretty harshly as well. I love that, you know, you come out of this with such a positive attitude and pushing it forth on to everybody else to kind of take that as a beautiful thing. Just to, you know,
Mm.
be honest with you. So that's lovely to hear.
Yeah. And you know, my heart does go out to the millennials. Like I said, I have a 17-year-old. He's not going to graduate, have the prom experience, all these.
Yeah, I was talking about that with my dad the other day. That those experiences, you know, you lose, and
Yeah.
that's tough. You don't get to think about that, but that's a big part of growing up, and kids are losing out on that, those little things
Yeah.
too.
Uh,
Um, how is he? What's he been doing for classes? Is school still
so
going on for him, or
yes, school started yesterday as a soft start.
okay?
So they've been, you know, figuring out how it's going to work. Some teachers are obviously a lot more tech savvy than others.
It's the
So
way it
there's
is.
those. yeah, so there's those set of challenges. My son is having a lot of Zoom meetings with friends, and he's, you know, he's staying connected. It was actually cute the other day, a couple days ago. I swear there was a party going on in his bedroom. It felt like there was like 40 people inside his room, and I had to go in and take a peek. You know, I knocked on the door and I was respectful, and I walked in, and there was like, he had multiple screens going on in his room. I mean, we're fortunate. My husband's in IT, so
Okay.
we've got all the little bells and whistles. I'm actually the prehistoric one in our family, the one who's always like, "What? I don't know how this works."
Hey, you logged into this perfectly fine. We're talking,
well,
right? So that's a plus. That's a plus.
I had my IT support, but my son, you know, he's I mean, he's doing the best that he can with what he has, and thankfully we've got good tools for him,
Yeah.
so he's able to stay connected. We did have to talk to him about, you know, making sure that he doesn't have anything inappropriate in the background.
You have to be prepared for that. Yes, that conversation.
Yeah, so I mean, it's you know, we're just working out these strange kinks. Like, I never would have thought that a certain poster in his room, we were like, you got to take that down. Like, I never liked it, but I was trying to be the cool parent, and now I'm like, you know, now that you're going to be hosting Zoom meetings,
Yeah, if you're on video calls a lot throughout your day, it might be a little change to make.
yeah. So so we're just, you know, day by day we're learning. Every day we're learning new things. Like, again, I never knew what my husband did for a living. I mean, I know what he does in title, but I didn't know. And
Yeah.
now I'm hearing him on conference calls, and I'm like, ooh, he's kind of sexy.
Diana's got a thing for IT folks.
Yeah. He's like sitting away like,
I bet you he's busy, and
oh, extremely busy.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I mean, you know, we're in the hardware aspect of IT from our end, but it is a needed industry right now.
Oh yeah.
It's great that technology is here to allow your husband to still stay employed and still be working, you know, probably as busy as he is. And
Oh yeah.
how did he recover? He's okay now?
Yeah, his symptoms were very mild in comparison to mine.
Yep.
He obviously didn't end up at the hospital. So, you know, everything I'm reading now is saying that 80% of people are going to go through this.
Yep.
You know, pretty well. For a lot of people, it's just going to be like a very nasty, out of the ordinary flu. And that's how it was for him. It went on for a few days. But overall, he's fine. You know, he gets a little fatigued. But no, he's good. My symptoms now are I get tired very easily, and I get winded. But every day I feel like I'm improving. I'm getting
That's
better.
Good. That's good. Well, that's great.
And then, yeah. How about you? How are you doing? I feel I haven't asked you anything about you.
I'm good. I am good. It's funny, you know, I have been with Yamaha for 2.5 years now, and I've worked from home every single one of those days. But now that everybody else is working from home, it's really crazy how it's a completely different type of situation.
Right.
When everybody else is working from home, it's funny how it just takes a different toll, and the change of it has been, you know, to be completely honest, difficult for a lot of people, friends, family, honestly, sometimes myself as well.
Yeah.
But we're taking it, like you said, day by day.
Yeah.
You know, we just got to be happy that I have a job, I'm employed,
Yeah.
and have this technology in front of me to make sure I'm keeping in contact with friends and family, and still.
Right. And that's another thing that I just want to really encourage people to do is, even if you're not in a financial situation where you can help people, you can, even using old technology, pick up the phone, call your grandparents, call that elderly neighbor, find a way to stay in contact with people. My sister actually is developing like a webinar programs.
Yeah.
She works with the elderly. So she's trying to figure out a way to help out assisted facilities assisted living facilities with their technology so that their community members can stay in contact with family members.
And that's a beautiful thing. That's something we've spoken about over here as well. Trying to on Yamaha side help out in specific communities that need the technology, because my human connection story here is on the 12th. Right when like non-essentials were closed and stuff, my grandfather had passed, and we had a funeral and a wake, and nobody could come. People on the West Coast were here. So I agree.
Sorry to hear that.
Oh, thank you. Using even just a phone call and to friends you haven't spoken to, checking in. It really does not just maybe brighten their day, but once you get off the phone call, you're like, wow, I'm glad I did that. It feels good to speak to somebody, have a good conversation, catch up. Because time, as we are finding out, as even though our days might feel long, time can be short, and we never know.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because I have a good girlfriend of mine from college. She's actually a district attorney, and she's deaf. So it's been interesting to hear what her life is now looking like and how important technology has been to her. I know that Google Talk has a way to set up subtitles.
That's so captions.
That's and everything. Captions. So it's not 100%, but it's definitely a lot better. I mean, we actually have communicated more since this whole pandemic started than we have in the last 10 years, because technology is finally at a point now where it's evolved and we can have those connections. So we've been doing a lot of video chatting, which is just amazing. I don't know how to sign. I have no idea how to sign. And so we're able to have a conversation just like you and I are having, and that's all because of technology.
And I think the beautiful aspect about that is as saddening it is that it takes a pandemic like this for Google, a large technology, to come out with something like that. We now have, right? Which can only further our connections with people in those types of situations. So it's really, that's been a really, I think, unique thing, as well as just seeing how quickly some of these technology companies have adapted to helping people in those types of situations, but around, connection.
And I just hope that also moves things along. So for example, my friend who's deaf, because now people are wearing face masks, she's not able to read lips. She's not able to.
That's difficult. Wow.
Yeah, she can't see facial expressions. And so I just think of people that are even hard of hearing. I mean, I work with a lot of elderly folk, and they rely on facial expressions. I mean, we don't realize just how much this is really the motherboard that communicates to the world. And when you have it covered up, I mean, how do you? So my friend's actually taking her phone with her, and she'll have somebody who can FaceTime and communicate with vendors when she's at the grocery store. So, I mean, in so many ways, we're so lucky that it has happened when it has happened, and that we have the technology to see us through.
100%. Absolutely. Well, I appreciate this time. You have actually uplifted me with this story of yours, and honestly, like I said before, the positive attitude that you have, and the experience that you just shared here, it's something that I'm excited to share with others. So I appreciate your time very much.
Thank you. And I'm doing the hashtag I'm still standing.
Okay.
So if you guys want to look things up.
I will make sure I will put that on there when I put this post up there. Hashtag I'm still standing. I love it.
Yeah, that's really helped me. That song, I mean, I would play it every day for my nurses and my care providers that would come in, and it really lifted them up. And just, if I can say one thing,
Absolutely.
The healthcare providers are amazing, hands down. They are risking tooth and nail for everyone, and they just need to be so applauded. And not just the healthcare providers themselves, but even like the janitors, the folks that would come in and clean my room and give me an uplifting, you can do this, you're going to make it. And the cafeteria folks that I never got to meet in person, but they would call me on the phone and say like, do you want a cookie? What can we bring you? Like, please eat. Cause that is another side effect, is you do lose your taste. Yeah. Your whole desire to eat is out the window. Which
that's
in my
painful,
case is probably
that's painful thinking about, to be honest with you. I don't want to think about loss of appetite.
Yeah. But it was cool, like they were trying to find every angle, every which way they could help me. And, the nurses kept apologizing that they couldn't smile at me.
That's a beautiful thing. I have a few friends that are working that are nurses, one in Texas, a couple here in New Jersey. And yes, they need more than just applauding.
Right.
When this is all over and said with, I think they need a free summer vacation.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. Cause I mean, normally they have a lot of support, tech support. But the nurses, because they're trying to limit how many people come into your room.
Absolutely.
For their safety, more so I think for their safety, for obvious reasons. And so, I mean, my nurse was having to change out sheets, help me bathe, feed me. I mean, all these other things that generally nurses don't maybe do. They were doing it all. There was no hierarchy in terms of like, oh, I don't do that, somebody else does that. No, everybody was in it to win it.
Wow. Yeah, it's their job field titles definitely just went up. They took on. Correct. And they're all taking on more than what they need to do or
yeah. And they did it with kindness and compassion. I never got anybody come in griping. I even had nurses that would go so far as, they were gloved, but they would actually hold my hand at times when I was most scared. And when that beast, like I said, would come out at night.
Yeah.
And there were so many of them that like actually sat to their own, possible peril. They would sit down and hold my hand. And one of them, I remember, even rubbed my head and was telling me like, you're going to be fine. You're going to come out of this alive. So I can't say enough good things about them.
That's incredible. Yeah, they're taking on a lot, and they just from this alone, and that right there kind of just justifies that they do need to be applauded, and for sure.
They do.
Yeah.
They do.
Absolutely.
They're angels on earth.
We thank them every day, that's for sure. I know I've got to send some care packages to my friends who are in the industry for sure, especially after this conversation.
For sure. They're definitely, they were angels on earth. And I don't know, maybe it's because it's California, but I swear every nurse that walked in, even though I couldn't see half their face, they all looked like Disney princesses. They were just beautiful. They just look like angels. Every time they would walk in, I'd be like, oh my God, another angel's coming in. So yeah, I was really lucky.
That will be something we highlight here, that's for sure. I like that. I like that. Angels on earth for sure.
They are. All right. Well, thank you. It was really nice to meet you.
Oh, it was an absolute pleasure. I'm very happy Mary was able to pass along your story. I am happy to hear that you are healthy. Same to your husband and son.
Thank you.
And I'm going to, honestly, I don't even know if I would need to spice this up. I might just stop recording and put it on. I'm going to take a look at this. I don't think anything